Hey yo, how's it going everyone? Entropy here today with another video. As you can see, we got some new equipment here to hopefully make the viewing experience better. New microphones and stuff, so hopefully the audio quality is a bit better than usual. Let's see how it goes. Today we're going to be doing something as usual, a new deck profile. Last time we did the Amaterasu one. If you haven't checked that out, do check that out. It's a pretty fun deck. But this time we're going to play the meta deck of this set, and in my opinion, the best deck, you know, in set A. And it is, drumroll please, Aqua. Aqua is amazing. It was always a threat in the last set, but the problem was they didn't have the crit pressure that other decks may have, and they don't really have a winning image, right? Other than outvalue your opponent with multi-attacks. So with Glory Maelstrom not being dependent on the 4th attack requirement, being able to generate crit and Sentinel restricts, conditions and terms apply. Please read the card text. The deck is just so much more complete and so much more of a threat, and can definitely deal a lot of damage. So I guess without further ado, let's begin with the deck profile. How's everyone doing with the dice event? We are near the end of it. I got one of the skins, I got my 3 packs. Everything else will wait. As a free-to-play player, I am prioritizing the packs, the skins, their cosmetic purposes, and I mean, I do care about them, but it's okay to miss out on, right? At the end of the day, if you have the ones that you want, and generally speaking, you can collect both of the skins and 3 packs and a bit more than that, then I'm good to go. I'm not going to necessarily spend gems for that. So let's just look at this, the list so far. We're using Jillian's skin because Jillian's best girl. We're playing the Officer Cadet Eric, and the reason why is because yes, you know, the Draco Kid is great, you know, 4th attack, put into soul, 4th attack, draw 1. That's good. 5k booster as well. But Eric just provides the deck the consistency that it really wants. You are playing 13 grade 3s, 8 of which not, like a lot of these you actually want to see in game, like Maelstrom is your first ride and you know, the target that you will mainly be for most of the game. Glory Maelstrom you're okay with having in your hand to threaten for lethal. Diamantes to let you multi-attack and enable 4th attack. And then we're going to play the Xenophon because it hits crossfire numbers at 13k. And primarily we're playing Cadet Eric to search for Maelstrom or Diamantes. And the reason why is because this deck doesn't really function well if you don't ride Maelstrom first, right? And that happens sometimes. And Eric just gives you that extra oomph of consistency. Get you those Maelstorms or Diamantes that you need, and just start sniping here and there, enabling your limericks and then just winning the game through that. And if not, then you have Glory to finish off the game where you left off. Let's just go through the grade 1s and 2s before we go specifically to grade 3s, even though it's quite self-explanatory in my opinion. We're going to play 4 Emerald Shield Pascals, the Sentinel. We're going to play 4 Reliable Strategic Commander, Self-Damager. We're going to play 4 Battle Siren Cynthia and 1 Light Signal Penguin Soldier. Okay, so the reason why we're playing 4 Reliable Strategic Commander is because Limit Break 4 and Limit Break 5 is just so important for this deck. The deck doesn't really plus outside of multi-attacking if you are not at Limit Break numbers, and you know, on your 3rd turn you definitely want to start using Maelstrom skill to retire something, a key piece, draw extra cards and get that extra 5k to hit your opponent's numbers. Definitely very important, and the Reliable Strategic Commander is very reliable for that. We're playing 4 Battle Siren Cynthia because I really do prioritize consistency over power. Being able to, you know, cycle through cards helps you get the pieces that you need. Sometimes you clog with a lot of grade 3s, so you can get rid of them that way. And sometimes if you have a lot of grade 1s, then you can discard them as well. A lot of the times, you know, sometimes you might miss your Maelstrom with your Eric and you have to desperately cycle. And Cynthia gives you that avenue. I literally just played a game where I had 2 Cynthias on my board. Turn 1, ditch 1, draw 1, no Maelstrom. Turn 2, search for Eric, no Maelstrom. Turn 3, and then turn 2, battle. Cynthia, discard 1, draw 1. Cynthia, discard 1, draw 1. Finally got my Maelstrom, and then, you know, everything went smoothly. As it should. Once you have Maelstrom, you never go back. Lastly, we play 1 Light Signals Penguin Soldier on play Soul Blast 2, draw 1. Some lists play 2. I think 1 is actually decent enough as a 1-off. I just value the cycle, the Cynthia more. But I can see reasons for playing 2. Personally, I prefer playing 1 because, well, how many cards in Soul do you usually have, right? With the Penguin Soldier, you can technically use it on turn 2 if you do proc your Eric to have 2 souls in your soul. If you ride the Maelstrom and then ride the Glory Maelstrom, then you would have 3 to 4 soul. But would you, okay, so for example, you Soul Blast the Eric and the Grade 1, right? Would you Soul Blast the Grade 2 and the Maelstrom in your soul? Not necessarily. I wouldn't recommend it. The 13 base is just so important in this meta, and it's definitely very valuable. So I don't see myself using Penguin Soldier more than once, and so I'm playing it at 1. And that's my reasoning. But I understand why people would play 2, just to increase the consistency of drawing into it, because the deck doesn't use Soul, so you're basically just drawing 1 for free. Next, we're playing 3 Basils. Basil on first attack get +3 at the end of the battle. You can exchange the position, very good. And you can counterblast 1 once per turn to ignore intercepts when this card attacks. If it's the first attack, of course. And that way you can enable your 4th attacks and make most of your attacks hit, either a Vanguard or a Rearguard. We're playing 4 Coral Assaults. On 3rd attack, it gets +3k, so it's 9 + 3. Hits over those 11k or 12k numbers. With a 6k booster, then it hits 18. So it can definitely still hit those crossfire numbers that you might see often recently with the prevalence of Dungry Unlimited, the Blood, Platinum Easel, and the mirror match with Glory Maelstrom. And I still do see some DNs and PBOs around, so definitely still a good card to hit numbers. We're playing 4 of the Tier 9 Lazarus 10k. More often than not, I'd actually value the 10k over the 9 + 3 simply because, well, not every single one of your attack is going to be the 3rd or more, right? And especially as a rearguard, generally it's going to be, you only have 1 of these that will actually hit the 9 + 3 skill requirement. So you still want to, have a Lazarus 10k. 10k hits most things and definitely is still very important. And lastly, we play 2 Veteran Strategic Commander, no longer just reliable, now it's a veteran. Still a very important piece, again, to enable your Limit Break. Of course, we're going to play less of the Grade 2 since it is the lower stats actually affects this card more, since at least 6k can help you use as boost, but the 8k requires the boost to actually hit most things. So unfortunately, this card is a bit clunky, but to enable your Limit Break more consistently, I still do think that it's worth playing at 2. Next, we're playing 4 Maelstorms. Maelstrom is just great. 4th attack, you get to +5, and then when this attacks, draw 1, retire 1. So you can snipe out important pieces, snipe out random useless pieces, but you're still plussing, right? And on attack, it gets +3, so it hits 14k by itself. So even if you don't have the 4th attack, it will still be able to hit those cross-night numbers that you will, again, see quite often nowadays. For Diamantes, honestly, this is still a very important piece. It's basically Basil with 1k more stats in raw stats, and then it does the same thing on attack +3, counterblast 1, you can ignore intercept. And honestly, if you could have both, Diamantes is what I would value more, especially since both are going to go to the bottom of the bottom row anyways. And 9 + 3 is definitely better than 8 + 3 in terms of hitting those numbers. So yeah, but generally speaking, they're interchangeable, and the best thing about it is that it's searchable with Eric, so it's very consistent with that. We're playing 4 Supreme Dragon Glory Maelstrom, very threatening card. Limit Break 5, when attacks Vanguard, counterblast 2, +5, +1 crit. Until end of the battle, your opponent must discard a grade 3 at random from their hand. If not, their Sentinel does not activate. With the crit pressure, it means that if your opponent's at 4, either does not have PG or does not have grade 3, they will die. Unless they hit a heal. But anyways, that's just really amazing. And I noticed that sometimes the game lags when it happens, probably because the game checks for PG and then checks for grade 3. They know there's a PG, but there's no grade 3, and then they lose from that. And that's, sometimes it scares me because it's like, damn, is it bugging? Do I lose because of the bug? But then most of the time it just works out, and I like winning, so there's that. Next is that there's a new skill, Ultimate Break, used to have to be Limit Break 5, but if this card is cross-riding, it becomes the Limit Break 4 instead. So you can definitely do Maelstrom stuff turn 3, turn 4, transition into Glory Maelstrom, and still maintain that damage lead. And so it's still very, very strong. And lastly, we're playing 1 of this, Xenophoth, because 10 + 3 is an important number to hit with the cross-ride meta. Some other cards that I tried was stuff like Vassilis, but because we're playing 4 Cynthias, the discard 1, draw 1 isn't that important. Naval Gazer is a bad card, don't play it. Don't. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, but I honestly don't recommend it. Tri-Stinger is trash, And then Benedict is okay as a budget option, but you know, 10k attacking Vanguard, most Vanguards are 11k or above now, so it won't even hit the first time. But I guess it is there if you want to be more consistent with your 4th attack requirements. And it is an option that I tested, but I do think that the 10+3 is more important just to be able to hit numbers in the first place. And since you are quite consistent, you have 7 cards that let you hit 4th attack or more, especially with the Eric searching 4 of them, it is quite consistent. So yeah, how's everyone doing with ranked? I really wanted to get to Legend rank 20 as soon as possible to get my 4th copy of Maelstrom. Between rank 15 to rank 20, I still played Aqua because I just love the mechanic. With 3 copies, it still works decently. Of course, you need to cycle more aggressively and you have to use your Eric most of your games, but it works out. Here, we don't even need to use the Eric. We just get rid of the glory. Most of the time, I don't want to keep it enhanced since it is a heal trigger, and if we need it in the end game, well, we'll either draw into it or it's okay sticking with a Maelstrom anyways. So yeah. Here, as you can see, our hand, we don't have a 4th attack enabler, but we can definitely search it with the Eric and hope to look for a Diamantes later on. Most of the time, I put my Eric behind the Vanguard. And if you've seen the Amaterasu video, I kind of briefly explained it how these non-5k grade 0 boosters, generally I put it behind Vanguard because it helps. There's always a Vanguard in the Vanguard circle, but there's not always a rearguard in the rearguard circles, right? And when these boosts, these 4k, 3k boosts are most valuable when you're on your grade 2, grade 3 turn, when your opponent's at 1 grade below you, to take advantage of that grade power disparity. In addition, with your multi-attack strategy, you know, generally you'd have Basil or Diamantes here, another grade 2, grade 3 here, and then a grade 2, grade 3, and then, you know, a booster, right? Well, sometimes the booster here actually wants to hit numbers. If they're 10k, if they're 9k, the 4k booster won't help you hit the next stage, right? So that's the problem, and generally speaking, I'd want a 6k booster in this slot, but the Penguin Soldier works fine, I guess. We're gonna ride the 10k, and then I guess we're gonna use the, should we use the Eric? Should we play more aggressively? I guess we can play more aggressively. We're gonna play out the Coral Assaults, hit 9 and then hit 14, and then we can always use the Eric later. Since we do have the Maelstrom in our hand, we're not in a hurry to use it right now. Again, see, because of the grade power disparity, we can take advantage of it earlier, and it generally works best behind the Vanguard, from my experience at least. And this is a very playstyle thing. Like honestly, you can argue, oh yeah, I like putting Eric in the corner because you have access to 9+3s to hit 16Ks anyways, and that's fair. But you know, that's like 4 out of 13 of your grade 2s, and you know, that comes into play very rarely. Here our opponent's putting the Basil in the front row without using the skill, which is probably going to signal that they do have another 4th attack enabler in their hand. They also don't use the Cynthia, which means that they either forgot to boost or they probably don't have anything that they want to specifically discard here, so their hand is pretty good. Here we do draw into the Basil, so we're pretty happy about that. I'm still going to use the Eric to search for a grade 3 because that can still be used as a beater, and we found our Diamantes, which is great. So here I'm going to call out the Basil. And I want to play it slower because if I do the multi-attack, first of all, I'm not going to have my Limit Break enabled anyways. And secondly, it means that I'll fill up my board with important pieces like Basil and Diamantes. And if our opponent does have a self-damager or does get put to 4 damage, it means that they can then use their Maelstrom to snipe my pieces. And right now, I just want to mitigate that, keep my board, you know, my number of cards on my board low. So that even if they do have a Limit Break enabler, their Maelstrom at most can only plus by drawing 1. And they can't retire anything specific on my board since they do have to hit over that intercept to enable that 4th attack requirement, unless they want to whiff. But you know, yeah, I mean their Vanguard, their Maelstrom has to hit a Vanguard to proc, right? Yeah, so like they do eventually have to hit through that Basil intercept. So then their retire is nothing. Here, our opponent chooses not to commit as well to counteract our Maelstorm turn, which is fine. Again, not using the Cynthia. Hitting the Glory Maelstrom heal But we know that they did add a Glory Maelstrom to their hand, so that is one thing that we know. They have one less heal in their deck now, so at most they have 2 left in their deck. We do hit a draw trigger, that's great. We're put to 3, which means that we can then use our reliable strategic commander, very reliable here, to hit our 4th damage, and then proc our Limit Break. We're not going to ride because we don't really want to ride these cards. Diamantes. Opponent has a Lazarus, so we want to ignore Intercept. Sometimes I forget and I counterblast anyways, but yeah, don't do that. If your opponent doesn't have a grade 2, you don't need to counterblast to use the skill. We're going to put this here, put this here, put this here. So that's okay to whiff because then we can use our Limit Break. 4th attack, get +5. We get a heal, that's great. In hindsight, I should have put the booster in the bottom right to hit 18 and then 16, but I guess then our opponent would be at 16 as well, but you know, I guess that was a slight misplay on my end. Here, our opponent is not going to run into Glory, there's no reason to, just going to use it as a beaster. Calls the Basilisk, which is also an option that we can consider. We just briefly talked about it. Generally as a one-off though. Opponent uses the Limit Break, you know. We hit a draw trigger, perfect. So then our opponent, Maelstrom, has to hit a trigger in order to hit. In the TCG, Maelstrom had to hit and then counterblast 1 to do the draw 1 retire skill. But here they buffed it, they just have to launch the 4th attack and then they get to plus, basically, which is amazing. Amazing. So yeah. Good stuff. And then snipe the Diamantes. That's a PG. Boing. So we're going to play vanilla card, vanilla fight for now. Okay, we can save that for later. I'm just going to call out stuff. No triggers, but that's okay. We can still, we put our opponent to 5. Our opponent does heal though, that's okay. And then at least we're getting rid of our opponent's intercepts, where they don't seem to have a lot of options because they did call out 3 grade 3s instead of any grade 2s last turn. So just apply pressure. Grade 2. Basil still wants that 4th attack to plus. Perfect guard. So it's whiff with the Basil. 9 plus 3 hits 10. So yeah, one of the things that you should note is that actually quite a lot of the Aqua Force rearguards can't hit over your, 10k rearguards. So playing more of those can actually come into handy and actually improve your game much more than expected. Opponent hits a draw trigger. Okay, hits, probably retires the booster, but we'll see what happens. Okay. So here, we have to make the judgment. Do we think our opponent has a PG? Do we think our opponent has a grade 3? Can we win? like it's easy to say, oh, we're gonna stall for one more turn, but sometimes you have to go for the win and remember your own winning image, right? And again, the good thing about Glory Maelstrom is that it doesn't require fourth attack. So it means we can pull off something like this, just break the intercepts and threaten for lethal. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, we take the L. It's okay. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So let's make it happen. Ultimate break, finish off the game. Opponent did hit a draw trigger last turn, which might have drew them a PG or a grade 3, but you know, it happens, whatever. Let's go for it. The lag, and then exactly the lag, they probably had a PG but no grade 3, or the other way around. I don't know how the game works. But anyways, we did it, easy game. Best girl with the flowers. That's about it. Oh, 8 extra points, so they probably ranked higher than us. Anyways, so 11 win streak with this deck, pretty sick. What else do I want to say? This deck is really aggressive. Some people were asking what aggressive decks do you want. Yes, the main grade 3 doesn't have a lot of crit pressure, but the cross ride does. The cross ride just wins games. And forcing your opponent's only guarding option to become more complicated, making them not able to invest, you know, grade 3s onto the board when they might need that offensive power to hit over your intercepts just for a chance to avoid Glory Maelstrom is very, very scary. But yeah, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, do like the video. Subscribe if you haven't done that yet, all that usual stuff. Comment down below, what do you think about Aqua Force, right? What would you change? What texts do you think are interesting? What things do you think we should play around with? What do we not usually talk about, right? Like, for me, when I started playing this deck, some people told me, oh yeah, you should play the 8Ks, right? 8Ks help you boost your weaker 8K rearguards to hit numbers. And that's true, that's true. Like just now you see some of the rearguards, you know, I have to actually like literally just invest PGs just to hit over intercepts and stuff. But overall, the builds I play highly value consistency. I value searching the Maelstrom or Diamantes early. I value being able to cycle through dead cards. And I value being able to hit limit break early. And that's just how I play the game, and I acknowledge that there are different playstyles, and that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly okay. Like some unorthodox builds like the Easel stand deck, it's really weird. It's definitely really weird. Like for me, I lost a lot of games before things started clicking for me because we're not used to playing like that. But for me, that's the fun of the game, trying to learn out different ways of playing, trying to test out different things that might or might not work, and seeing how, you know, you can make things happen. But I guess that's it for this deck profile. Let me know what you think. And again, lastly, just subscribe. We just hit 300. That's really amazing. And I can't do this without you all. So until next time, I'll see you all next time. Bye.